Hello, everyone, and welcome to a new episode of the Cradle News Roundup coming to you live. My name is Esteban Carrillo, and I'm the news editor for the Cradle. And as usual, I'm joined by my friends and colleagues, content creator and writer for the Cradle, Karim Shami, and columnist and editor for the Cradle, Sharmin Narwani. And of course, before we start, please, everyone who, as soon as you arrive, make sure to hit that like button. It's really important to get this stream out to as many viewers as possible to break the YouTube algorithm. Subscribe to our channel if you haven't. Check out the memberships here on the YouTube channel, but of course, above all, underneath in the description, you can find a link that will take you to our Patreon page where you can become a direct supporter of the Cradle for as little as $5 a month. We really need your support, and we are really thankful for everyone who in the past few weeks has become a Patreon as well as a subscriber to this channel. Thank you all for your support, honestly. And please, if it's within your capacity, consider becoming a Patreon. Also, make sure to go check out. There's some recent interviews. Rock the Cradle, as Sharmin has spoken with a former U.S. Colonel, Larry Wilkerson, and Fuad Isadi on, of course, the situation here, in the war with Iran. Very interesting conversations. So please, right after this podcast is over, if you haven't seen those interviews yet, go make sure to check them out. Show them some love as well. Leave some likes. Guys, today as we start, Donald Trump is a very lonely man. He doesn't seem to have the support of his allies. I mean, this really is the price you pay when for a year and change you spend alienating all of your allies, including potential allies, and of course alienating your enemies even more, your perceived adversaries. Today, Donald Trump is paying the price of all of that. Truly a lonely man sitting at the top there because no one wants to help him reopen the Strait of Hormuz. I mean, absolutely no one. He has no takers. He keeps talking about we need to build some sort of international coalition, etc., etc. No one is saying, yes, Mr. Trump, we will come to help you. As far as nations that have already rejected Trump's call for an international coalition to reopen the Strait of Hormuz, you have Australia, Finland, France, Germany, Greece, Italy, Japan, Netherlands, Spain, and the United Kingdom. All of them have said, nope, no thank you, Mr. Trump. And in particular, Germany, very interesting, of course, coming from Germany, they said, this is not a war. This is simply not our war. Now, Donald Trump, like I said, a very lonely man. What do you guys make of this isolation? I would say this self-imposed isolation.
Yeah, first we have video. He's ranting about the issue.
It's always good to listen to him, yes.
Yeah.
Some are very enthusiastic and some are less than enthusiastic. And I assume some will not do it. I think we have one or two that will not do it that we've been protecting for about 40 years at, tens of billions of dollars, Mr. Speaker. So I'll be reporting that to you in the House and the Senate. And I'll say, why are we protecting countries that don't protect us? And I've always felt that was a weakness of NATO. We were going to protect them. But I always said, when in need, they won't protect us. Now, this is in need. Need would be one of the big boys. But I will say that we built the greatest military in the world, and we protect people. And if we need their mine boats.
What else can you say? I want to hear from you guys.
Yeah, we talked about this, me and Sharmin, yesterday and the day before also. We talked about it. The idea of what's happening, not because maybe they don't like Donald Trump, and not only because the United States under the leadership of Trump is weaker than ever, but also there's consequences of them joining. Because as we said before, these countries, when they created an alliance to destroy Iraq and Libya and Yemen and other places, and even if you go back to Vietnam and other countries, the idea was these countries were creating chaos in a specific geographic location inside the border of the country that they are that they are bombing. This is the first time there's such a war against a country that is able to reach further than its borders. That's why, of course, all of them are afraid. They know that they can send ships there. Iran has the capability to sink them or to hit them. If they want to station their troops in the Gulf or in Iraq or any other place, they will be hit. So there's consequences of the decision that they will take. And of course, we here, as they see it, nobody sees that the United States will win this war. As we talked before, winning this war means who can open or who remains controlling the Strait of Hormuz after the war ends, or after, for instance, a country retreats, like let's say Israel retreats and keeps the United States, or Trump retreats and keeps the Israelis, or nobody knows. Maybe they will convince the Gulf countries to enter the war, because in addition to the names, to the countries that you mentioned, Esteban, there's also the Gulf countries. They didn't enter the war, and they said they don't want to be part of this war, although they are one of the best allies. Yeah, best allies for the United States and for the West since decades. So that's my assessment to the situation. And of course, this shows us that at least in this war, there is no leverage from the United States over other countries. The leverage is coming from Iran.
Completely. What?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of crazy. Imagine the situation going on into 2027 and 2028. I mean, I actually don't see why it couldn't, because Iran by then will have established a very nice set of procedures. It will, basically ensure, just like the U.S. has for decades, onboarded ships in the middle of whatever oceans because they thought there was contraband. They thought there was sanctioned oil or sanctioned this or that, right? They've just done that, regardless of maritime law. So I think it's very reasonable for Iran to argue, well, we need to make sure, especially since people in Israel and officials in Israel and officials in America said, we're right there. Mossad agents are right there walking alongside you, right? And then we know about the June war, what happened on the first day, that drones inside Iran, okay, that had been smuggled in over a year or two or three, and the production capability for these drones had been operating. So Iran has every right to, it has the biggest coastline on the Persian Gulf of any country. And I think of all the other countries combined, something like that. What is it 2,000 kilometers, Karim?
Yeah, I will check.
Yeah, it's a very, very big number. So it's perfectly legitimate for Iran to set up a procedure whereby initially they would check. So that's kind of what happened today. It's what?
Around 2,400 kilometers or 1,600 miles.
Yeah. So here's what it's done. I mean, today we've seen Iran allowing select vessels to transit the Strait of Hormuz. Okay, but before they've been able to, there's been a verification process, and I think a short diversion to a channel there where Iranian authorities are confirming the ownership, the cargo, and that the vessel is not an American one, or belongs to those that, that the cargo belongs to those that Iran is permitted transit to. So the one now we have, there's 2 Greek, 1 Indian, and 1 Pakistani tanker that has passed through today, allegedly. What we are hearing is that the Pakistani oil tanker paid for its cargo in yuan, in Chinese yuan. We don't have any way of verifying that at this point, but that would be a very, very interesting development.
Exactly. I'm looking at actually of what ships they have led through. The Pakistani flag, Karachi, which sailed through the Gulf on Sunday. In India, some Indian vessels, I don't have a number here, a Turkish vessel and Chinese vessels as well have passed. France and Italy apparently are still in talks or requesting talks with Iran about this. I mean, Arakchi, right? The foreign minister, Iranian foreign minister Abbas Arakchi said it clearest, I think it was earlier today. He said the Strait of Hormuz is closed to our enemies. For everyone else, it's open. So I think that's where you're going to start to see a lot of more of this friction, right? Yesterday, I saw, I think Financial Times was reporting that Donald Trump was saying, if they don't help me, NATO is in real trouble, right? Like if you don't come and join me. And, internally at the Cradle, we, at least me personally, I laugh a lot about these, the naval missions that they want to send to escort ships through the Strait of Hormuz, because we already saw how well they fared against Yemen, and now that you want us to believe that you can do something against Iran. I mean, the Europeans and everyone else are really, they see the writing on the wall, and Donald Trump, I guess he does as well, and that's why he's so all over the place. Today, again, he said Iran's obliterated, so I don't even know why this war is being fought anymore.
I mean, it's kind of amazing how in just a short time that Iran has managed to civilize the behavior of the global community. I mean, India threw some real slaps at Iran before they started, turning up in Israel and basically dancing a jig for Netanyahu just on the eve of Netanyahu's illegal, aggression on Iran. And then, Iran, so the Indians washing their hands off the Iranian naval ship that was there for by invitation, and then as it sailed off, the Americans hit it, killing the majority of the sailors on board. That kind of thing. We're going to see a different tone from India. Much more cordial, much more civilized. It's not bad. The Europeans did mouth off this weekend that we're not going to talk directly to Iran and beg for our vessels to come through. Well, guess what? They kind of are, right? They're NATO members.
Completely.
The U.S. has asked for other nations to accompany shipments through the strait, and they've all said no, which means they're basically been civilized by Iran. And it's such a better world already.
I mean, there was this report over the weekend of Donald Trump insisting, right, telling the Joint Chief, the head of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, why aren't we escorting ships through the Strait of Hormuz? And then the answer that was reported was because even a single Iranian soldier on one of these IRGC speedboats can disrupt the entire process. Can immediately, you're talking about mega tankers, right? These huge super tankers of oil or whatever else that are going to have to cross to this strait at a very slow pace and sit in docks. It's what they are, and then
it's not just the speedboats, right? Mm-hmm. I was thinking last night about how are these speedboats concealed? Do they come from sort of like an underground lagoon into the waters? And then how many of these underground lagoons would there be? But there's also, correct me if I'm wrong, Karim, Iran has manufactured submarines. And from what I understand, it has underwater drones that can be completely controlled in terms of direction. So it's not like the speedboat option is the only one. That's for a certain kind. The speedboats are tactical, right? They're tactical, well, not weapons, but hardware to use for certain scenarios, but not all scenarios. Mm-hmm. So I think a lot of the Iranian reaction will come from underwater projectiles against any American ships that are unauthorized in those waters. And maybe we can civilize the Americans in the end too.
Oh, that's a big ask right there. That's a big ask, especially this particular government. I think also, I forgot what I wanted to add to your thoughts, Sharmeen. I lost my train of thought. In the meantime, please, people, make sure to hit that like button if you haven't yet.
Let me add that Trump had the audacity to threaten delaying his meeting with Chinese President Xi Jinping.
Yes.
If no help from China arrived for Trump's, plans for the Hormuz. And that was, do you think Xi cares? Do you think he went, oh no, this is throwing off everything?
He's shaking in his boots, I tell you.
Yeah, I'm like, does Trump not understand that his new mega production of weapons that he's instructed the entire military industrial complex in the US to get going with, right? That they all rely on Chinese rare earth minerals.
Yes, exactly.
Right? Does he not realize that they can't do anything right now? And there's so many cards that the Chinese have, but also now so many cards that the Russians have, because I think, what is the Northern European waterways? Anyways, I believe
the Northern Passage.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Europe just got an okay to buy Russian gas, or some parts of Europe. Of course, the Americans have approved it for India, which is kind of ridiculous. The biggest country in the world by population. A significant.
What jumped out at me, Charmaine, was that they said that the sanctions that they are now lifting on Russia would be reimposed after this war.
It's imagine the Russians should take every little bit they can get out of this and then parlay it into an asset or leverage afterwards, because Russia's going to get a whole lot richer overnight and Europe is going to get a whole lot poorer.
Exactly. And actually, to your point, I'm just right now reading this headline from the Wall Street Journal that the EU has no money to mitigate the energy crisis by this conflict. So, of course, they don't want to go and, on top of everything, go and send some ships that are just going to be sitting docks there. Karim, I don't know if you have any thoughts about this and the plans to reopen the Strait of Hormuz, or maybe you can walk us through some comments by Ali Larijani today, in particular directed to Muslim nations.
Before we get to that, can we just verify this for me? The UAE has slashed oil production by 50%. Fujairah is shutting down. Fujairah is a big port and oil facility for the Emiratis. I think it's their biggest, but it's also the only place through which they have a pipeline that could potentially divert. I think it's something like 1.2 million barrels of oil per day, so not a lot. But that has now been taken offline.
I think right now they need every last drop, no? Every last drop.
Yeah.
Karim, what do you have?
Yeah, today also, as you mentioned, Larijani published a statement for Muslim and Arab world regarding the U.S. and Israeli aggression on Iran, and the statement had 6 points. I will put them now on the screen. So these are the points that Larijani posted. First, where is it? Okay. So Iran has been subjected to a deceptive U.S. Zionist aggression that occurred during negotiations. So the first point is say that we didn't start the war. The war is imposed on us. And also he goes on and says, I will give you the summary. He said that nobody condemned what's happening in Iran, and that the Muslim world is weak and they are not doing anything. And for instance, he says some countries have gone even further than that, saying that Iran has become an enemy to them because it targets U.S. bases and U.S. and Israeli interests in their lands. So, of course, the same statements we saw previously also from Ansarallah during the war and from Hamas, which unfortunately it shows how the Israelis and the American unfortunately controls the Muslim world and the Arab world, and nobody dares to even open their mouths. Countries such as Iran is not asking for help as currently the US is doing and Trump is doing. They are just blaming other countries and surrounding countries and neighbors that this should not continue like this. The Americans and the Israelis should not be able to do to Muslim countries what they used to do.
Yeah. And he asked them, he said, this is today a confrontation between America and Israel on one side and Iran and the forces of resistance on the other. Which side do you stand on? And then think about the future of the Islamic world. You know that the US is not loyal to you and that Israel is your enemy. Pause for a moment and reflect on yourself and on the future of the region. Iran is sincere toward you and does not seek domination over you. I mean, I think this is mostly geared towards populations in the Persian Gulf, in countries like Jordan and maybe Egypt, you know, where sort of the Gulf influence is strongest. Countries whose leadership have signed on to the Abraham Accords, for instance. And it was a really sort of down-to-earth plea to the Ummah. Ummah is the word for community, and usually you talk about the Islamic Ummah, the Muslim community. And he quotes words from the Quran: whoever hears a man calling all Muslims and does not respond to him is not a Muslim. What kind of Islam is this? And I think during the month of Ramadan, where people, you know, reflect on their faith a lot, and this is happening, a great tragedy, a catastrophe that has affected the entire Muslim Ummah and most of the rest of the world. It's quite an interesting kind of thing that we're seeing from the guy who's essentially become, he's head of the new Iranian National Security Council, and he's really kind of become the main spokesman of this war from the Iranian side.
I completely.
Yeah.
Karim,
I
what do you
just
have?
want to thank Zia and also Kimberly and Joe Mama for their support. Thank you.
Great names among our followers. Honestly, great usernames, guys. Another thing that go ahead.
No. If you're going to follow up on this, I just wanted to go back to the Fujairah thing and why this was important.
What I just wanted to add to the Iranian statements was also what the other comments from Abbas Araghchi, which were that he explains, right, when they say we don't want a ceasefire, is because it's not because we want war. You know, we don't seek war, but we need guarantees that this is not gonna continue. I mean, the Iranians are taking a very different approach as before, but also very measured, right? In particular, considering what the other side keeps saying, which is, we won, we didn't win, we obliterated them, we need to continue the war for a few more days.
Oh, and now today, according to the New York Post, Trump is saying Mujtaba Khamenei is gay. I just, you know, it's beyond. And honestly, the commentary from Americans is just spot on. It's like, at this point, there's nothing I believe that our government says anymore. Completely different response than to the Iranians. The Iranians are reporting this more or less, you know, obviously to their advantage, but they're reporting facts by and large.
I think, like William said it on Friday, he said it, right? Like, they didn't do the work of creating this sense that this war needed to happen, right? Like, Donald Trump just went in like the bull in the China shop, thinking that he was going to have a repeat of what he did in Venezuela, and now he's reaping the consequences of a very, very poor decision. But if you want, Charmaine, let's go back to the discussion, because I think this is very important, what's happening in the UAE.
But I mean, like I've said, this is the first time I've ever seen a U.S. war in which the American government has not propagandized fully the population into supporting it beforehand. I mean, already before the war started, a minority of Americans supported it, and likely because they supported Trump willy-nilly, right? And those numbers have collapsed essentially as the war has continued. Yeah, so we have seen now the Kuwait Petroleum Company declare force majeure, the Qatari gas, right, producers declaring force majeure. I'm trying to think. There was at least one other country. I think Bahrain as well declared force majeure. And then you now have the UAE, which is the third largest OPEC oil producer. And this comes in the aftermath of Iraq, which is OPEC's second largest oil producer, limiting its output by more than 70%. And now the Emiratis have limited their production by 50%. I mean, in a sense, they all have to shut down because they can't transport it, right?
Of course, yeah.
So which means every day that 20 million barrels of oil are taken off the market, off the global market. And it's not like it's just 20 million, because every day that is repeated, correct?
Exactly.
And we don't even get, we have not reached the point in which nation surplus of fuel, like what they store for emergencies, have run out. When that happens, it's a global catastrophe, which is what I think, Iran, I think when the Israelis and Americans talk about like humanitarian concern, or even the Saudis and the Emiratis, humanitarian concern, let us aid Yemen, let us aid Gaza. It never happens. We know this. We've covered this with the Cradle endlessly. They make these promises for headlines and they never deliver. But I suspect we're going to see what sort of like actually handling a humanitarian crisis is like. We can't blame Iran for causing it, because after all, it's defending itself, right? It's the Israelis and Americans who caused it, and their Gulf and Jordanian allies for participating in it. And so now Iran will likely allow food shipments enough to get to the Emiratis. What do the Israelis always say? 500 calories a day is enough for Gazans, right? So maybe the Emiratis will get more than that.
Probably.
But we talked about this yesterday, Karim, where fertilizers and pesticides, things that are traversing the Strait of Hormuz, also will be in short supply. Food is a major issue. When gas prices, when oil prices go up, that means even the transportation in places that have food to their normal outlets maybe decreases, because the cost, unless the cost is passed on to the consumer. We have not yet seen, we've seen an average in the US of 70 something cents
Since
gone
the
up
start of the war, yeah.
at the
74.
gas, where you pump for gas. This is nothing compared to what could happen. So I imagine that the Iranians will start their civilizing the world by allowing, necessary foodstuffs, not the way Ukraine, when it was allowed by the Russians to transport wheat, just gave it to white countries or Western countries that already had plenty of food. So Russia cut off that arrangement because they said this was meant for global South countries. I think Iran will prioritize global South countries and those far away from the aggressions. But yeah, so this essentially by shutting down Fujairah, like I said, that takes the only piece of, the only pipeline in the UAE that was designed to circumvent, something like the closure of the Strait of Hormuz. That's offline. What remains in the Persian Gulf Arab region is the East-West pipeline in Saudi Arabia, and that must be at full capacity. It also offloads its cargo in the Red Sea to be transported by ship. That, of course, can come under fire of its own if the Yemenis get involved in this war. And the Yemenis don't really need to get involved in this war. Karim, I definitely want your take on this, but I want to ask because, a lot of people are talking about Trump's attack on Kharg Island, right, where Iran's for 90% of where Iran exports its oil from was attacked. If in fact the Americans are also talking about moving Marines into the area and maybe taking over Kharg Island, right, and taking over those massive Iranian stores of oil, will we then see Yemen come on board and close off what, guys, is kind of more significant than the Strait of Hormuz? It's the Bab el-Mandab. It's how everyone gets stuff from the Indian Ocean to Europe.
Go ahead, Karim, but we also have a couple of super chats. I don't know if we put them on screen. Thank you to everyone who's been donating.
We have a super chat from
Schiffer Pro.
Schiffer Pro. Salam Taser, we will win. Thank you. And we have also from Piroy 23. American propaganda versus the credit is an unfair fight reality. Thank you.
It really is. It really
Because if you are winning, you don't need propaganda. As simple as that.
is. Very true.
Yeah, so I want also to read a statement published by the speaker of the Iranian Armed Forces. He said in a televised message, he said this message is for Trump. Wars are not decided by tweets. And he adds, and he said that the outcome of any war is decided on the battlefield, in a place where American forces do not dare to approach. He means the Strait of Hormuz. And they just talk about in tweets. He added that it would be better to call this war epic fear, not epic fury. And he adds, he
Epic
said
what?
that
Epic what?
epic fear, not epic fury.
Fear. Yeah.
Epic fear. He pointed out that the decision in this path is the decision of the leader of the Islamic Revolution and not Trump. Yeah, so regarding Yemen, I want our viewers to understand the difference between, for instance, a Western alliance, which has like pure, how can I say it, pure points, clear points when an ally should interfere and what an ally role is and each ally's role. In our region, what's happening is that the acts of resistance was created because of the wars that was imposed by these countries and on these countries by the Israelis, by the Americans, and slowly but steadily, we saw the rise of Hezbollah, we saw the rise of Ansarallah, we saw the rise of Iraqi resistance and the other group, and of course Iran. And regarding the Yemenis, like ideology, aligns more aligns more with Palestine. And for them, the ultimate goal is Palestine. So if me knowing the Ansarullah and seeing the battles that are being fought now, I don't think Ansarullah has a real reason to enter this war currently. That's one. And number two, I think, after days maybe or weeks or we don't know, Ansarullah, they will be bombed. I think the Israelis will not let Ansarullah alone. And they will not go after Iran and not after Yemen. And I think that's what the Yemenis said, that we are ready for war and our fingers are on the trigger, but we are waiting for this war because I don't think they will add anything currently to the war. Of course, we will see more bombings, maybe 15% of the bombings will increase, but the damages will increase like 1-2% because there's already damages. That's in my opinion. And also the idea of Strait of Hormuz is not to allow ships carrying energy, meaning LNG, gas, petroleum, oil, or other means of energy to pass through the strait and go to the U.S. allies or the U.S. or Israelis or the countries that are helping them. So this is the idea currently of the closure of the control of Strait of Hormuz. And I think Ansarullah, by closing the other port, will exert more pressure, of course, on the world and maybe, for instance, if now we are waiting for the oil to reach 150, maybe after 1 week or a few days will reach 150. But militarily, I don't see a clear reason for them to
it seems unnecessary at this point entirely. But I think if the Americans did try to do an operation in Iran and was even partially successful, I think we'd then see them move in on their own. But people do ask about it. We have when the Cradle asked Yemeni Ansarullah official about this, they said, we are ready, absolutely ready for this war. We're just awaiting a political decision from our leader, Abdul Malik al-Houthi.
As far as Yemen, I wanted to add something about it. Guys, I'm so sorry, I'm all over the place right now because I'm reading different things. But you have to consider what we have heard over the weekend, which is, the interceptor shortage that Israel is apparently facing. Although you already have Israeli officials that came out and said, what interceptor shortage? No such thing. Nevertheless, today we saw 2 images, very interesting, Karim, and I think they were on our Twitter feed. First was the Knesset session that had to get up and run to shelters because of the alarms. And then after that, we saw that some fragments of Iranian missiles landed outside of the Knesset, like literally right outside of it, and also right outside Netanyahu's office. So they can say all they want that there's really no issues with the interceptors, but the reality in the ground is shifting very quickly as to how capable. Well, we already knew, right, that the Iron Dome was more like the Iron colander, right? It was full of holes. But now we are hearing more and more, and we heard even before the start of the war that there was a serious munition shortage. Even before the start of this war, the U.S. had run through about 15 years worth of Tomahawk missiles in the span of about 5 years. So they came in at a very severe deficit. For example, with the Tomahawks, we already know about the THAAD, we knew about the Patriot systems, etc. But now, 3 weeks in, seems the prophecies, or let's say call them the warnings of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, well, they're really coalescing into reality.
Well, I mean, also don't forget, Colonel Wilkerson told us on our interview that, firepower is not something the U.S. lacks. Okay, it's the other stuff, the important stuff, the interception, and if it looks really bad for Trump, he may just come in and just bomb a lot, right? I mean, not that. I mean, in many senses, he can't in the same way, because I think increasingly the Gulf countries will be reluctant to let them, they need to be close by in order to do these things, or have refueling aircraft, right? So it just becomes harder and harder. In every war that the U.S. has waged in this region in West Asia, it has had a lot of hardware, a lot of support, right? It's had all its fighter jets, all its troops, all its hardware, all its radars. Now you have a lot of that scattered or destroyed. So I don't know. By the way,
didn't the Abraham Lincoln withdraw further away from Iran just a couple of days ago? Did you guys hear about that?
No, I think on the third day they announced, the Iranians said that they were approaching, and then they had to. They were forced back to go to the Indian Oceans, and they also said that the ships are getting logistics also from India, although today Iran allowed an Indian vessel to pass. I want to add something over what Sharmeen said. Unfortunately, also, the facts also says, and the videos and the documents, that while they were, for instance, bombing and killing people in Iraq for a lie, and they killed 1 million. Also, they had tennis and basketball and pools. And they were bombing, killing Iraqis, and going back to Saudi Arabia, sitting in a pool and playing billiardo and basketball, which is now this will never happen. I think this will never happen again, at least in our lifetimes and our kids' lifetimes, inshallah.
Yeah. The other, thing where people keep asking us, is Netanyahu dead? Yeah, we don't know. But here's the thing. I mean, if they're sitting there and speculating wildly about why they don't see much about Khamenei, they really need to ask that same question about Netanyahu and Ben Gvir, etc. But we're hearing reporting that Netanyahu is kind of shut up in this war with Trump, that he was having daily phone calls with the U.S. president from the start of the war, and those have petered off, or he's just realized that, he got the bee under Trump's bonnet because Trump's not doing well. So now Trump wants to prove it. Netanyahu doesn't have to do an awful lot anymore, right? Before he was in there offering solutions every day. No, it's not like this. Let us tell you the good news, right? To keep Trump's attention focused. But now he doesn't need to. The American president, this is it. It's a do or die for him on this one. It's obviously a colossal mistake, and he's now looking for, his Marine Corps, who are talking about doing all these kind of Hollywood movie type landings and underwater whatever, where they like get onto islands and they break into whatever. Yeah, it's crazy. If they don't think that Iran knows everything that's happening along those 2,400 kilometers and every island, tiny island off of its coast, they're insane. Okay, I mean, everything is unseen in Iran. This has been a doctrine for many decades now. You build it unseen, you develop it unseen, you launch it unseen. Obviously, because the enemy has satellites, and this is well before Iran got its aerospace program, or got access to China's Beidou or Russian intel.
I was just reminded, Sharmeen, that his words after the kidnapping of Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro, when he was like, we were just sitting there with screens. It looked like a movie. It was like a movie. He kept saying that same phrase, and this is the way he's approaching apparently everything. But now, you also hear that there's up to 5,000 Marines about to be deployed with the goal either being take Harish Island or take the uranium that it's somewhere like deep inside Iran. I mean, there's like no end. There's no end to just how deep he's willing to dig himself into this hole, when the answer is, it's pretty obvious. I mean, the answer stares him right in the face. The answer is an end to aggression and, reaching an agreement that will need to be respected. That's
he's doing this in Iranian territory, in Iran's backyard. That just the psychological advantage of a home game. You guys know that if y'all watch American football or soccer or anything, the advantage of the home. And on top of this, I mean, there's no, I don't know. I mean, I have friends who are hoping they try to do a covert operation, in which Iran can then take U.S. soldiers and parade them around. I mean, I don't know. Trump is going to have a heart attack on the spot, if that kind of thing happens. I think the risk scenario is so great for the Americans right now that they need to find an off-ramp. But my sense, and I think all our senses are now, that that Trump just wants to double down so he can claim something. Though, to be honest, he's claiming the stuff anyways. He's declared victory 6 or 7 times already. Or, I mean, why does he keep then, jumping in?
Way more, actually.
Yeah, but let me ask you guys this: do you think if Trump declares victory and then says, "And now we're out," do you think this is going to stop?
Not at all. Not at all. Absolutely not. I think that's clear for anyone who is even close to being an honest observer. They will realize this is not going to stop, because the Iranians need to know this is not going to restart. I have some questions for Karim, because I of course we need to talk about the situation in Lebanon. And actually, someone here in the comments asked, because over the weekend we heard, first of all, I think they said they wanted to mobilize 450,000 reservists to invade South Lebanon, and at the same time, there's the talks, right, that are going to happen this week that I'm not actually sure if the Israelis have agreed to them at the end of the day. But someone in the comments asked, and I think I lost the question. Here we go. AS313 says, Karim, if they take Hiam, which is on the border with the occupied Palestinian territories, is it possible they could realistically occupy South Lebanon up to the Litani River?
No. I will answer. If I had a map, I will put it if I find it. No, Khiam is a village or a town, a small town in south of Lebanon. Yeah. And it's on the east side of southern Lebanon. If they invade there, they might take like a section of east of the south of Lebanon. I think we can move on until I find a map. People will not understand me without a map.
Okay. But also the
short answer is no.
The other issue about Khiam is it's a very strong resistance stronghold.
They've always tried to take Hiam, right? We had a
They
feature.
always try
yeah.
to take Khiam. Khiam is, I just, have I told the story before? In 2010, I went looking for Hezbollah missiles in Khiam because the Israelis had done those stupid, propaganda internet maps they put out showing that Hezbollah is hiding weapons in mosques and in schools in Khiam. So I was like, well, why don't I just go there? I tried to get permission from the Hezbollah's information office in Beirut. And initially they said yes, and then they said no on the night before I was going. So I'm like, I'm going to go anyways. And let me tell you, within 5 minutes of me entering this big modern town, I was stopped, And then I was like, they said, oh, if you want to see Khiam, we'll give you a tour, and then you're out, right? So we're like, okay. And then we finish it by, and then I sneak up to this place where the Israelis have marked X on a map. And I swear to God, these guys jumped out of bushes. They're like, didn't we show you around? Didn't you? And I'm there. You cannot get through Khiam.
I mean, big shout out, by the way, to Dr. Marwa Osman, who is from Hiam, a friend of the Cradle, of course. Guys, before I let you,
her husband is, but she's adopted the town. Yeah.
I wanna read you something because before Karim, you go into your masterclass about the southern Lebanese border, because Sima just sent us something on our chat that Donald Trump posted, and he says, and I'm gonna open quote marks here. This war was started by Barack Hussein Obama and Joe Biden, and we've been fighting it for over 47 years now. I am putting an end to it because I am the peace president. This week, I will be creating the Hormuz Peace Board, where our so-called coward NATO allies are not welcome. Many real allies have already expressed desire, I'm sure, the Seychelles Islands, I'm sure, to join these ones in a lifetime opportunity to secure the Hormuz for peace. This man is losing his mind.
Yeah, he is. He is. Today I was telling the team, whenever he speaks or say anything, he's like digging deeper for himself. If he doesn't talk that much, none of us will comment. What he's saying is crazy. It's crazy. That's why Netanyahu is disappeared.
So now we have the Gaza Board of Peace, the Hormuz Board of Peace. What will be next? What will be the Cuba Board of Peace, the Greenland Board of Peace? My God. So Karim, can you?
We have a couple of super chats first. Also, Joe Mama. Middle East is U.S. pocketbook holding up economy. Trump is trapped, and there is no way out without accepting defeat.
Yes.
Trump's ego incapable of
Nasrallah, he means.
Nasrallah predicted eventually land battle. And also we have one for me, maybe from Lisa.
Remember the era victories?
You
do look very handsome, by the way. Many people have been commenting.
You look very handsome and brown. Thank you.
You look tired. It's been, of course, a difficult few weeks.
Yeah, so we have a very good article that will answer your questions more than me on the Cradle. I will link it down below after this live, and it's the title is Israel's Khiam Fixation: One Hell, 5 Wars, and No Lessons Learned. And of course, the writer talks in details, and inside it there's a map, and this is Khiam.
Anis Rais.
Yes, Anis Rais is the writer. This is Khiam, this is South Lebanon. This is Khiam, this is the Litani River. So here there's also confusion because of course the Western has they have no idea what's this. So here there's Khiam, the town. Here we have Khiam, Sahel Khiam, which is called Khiam Field. And here usually, if I'm not mistaken, I can't be that accurate, but somewhere here is the Khiam prison, the famous one. So according to the Israelis and to Hezbollah statement, there is insurgent from the Israelis here, and it's not from yesterday. It's from a few days back. And if you remember what I told you like a few seconds ago, it's at the Khiam fields. It's a flat land. That's why the Israelis love to come from here. Also, most of the bombings that Hezbollah does outside the borders of Lebanon usually is here in Talle or Mitolla. It's in English, I think that's how it's pronounced. So usually here the Israelis, they carry on the logistics and they have like checkpoints and spaces here. So usually Hezbollah fails here whenever the Israelis try to enter from here, then they retreat, then they do it again. And this has been happening since like a week now. And this is also, if you want to the big picture, this happened 5 times in the previous wars. And let us not forget when Hezbollah like kicked the Israelis in the 2000, the Israelis used to occupy all this area up here also. And in 2006, the Israelis managed to enter from here and enter from here and enter from different places. But eventually the end game was that they were forced out. And that's the feeling of every Lebanese currently, to be honest. Yani. The Israelis can enter. Let me answer it as a Lebanese. When we, people from the south or Lebanese people that understand what's happening, when they hear that the Israeli entered this town, we don't panic. Because we are not, Hezbollah is not an army. Hezbollah is resistance. It's normal for them to enter. It's normal for Hezb to allow them to enter, so they are booby trapped. This stuff happens since the 80s. It's so normal. Israelis come inside, then they are kicked out, they come inside. That's how you accumulate the casualties. Because it's very difficult for Hezbollah to strike and to inflict casualties upon the Israelis inside their land.
They're guerrilla operations, in essence.
I think that's actually what is being reported now, right? That Hezbollah is essentially gone completely back to a guerrilla force. Where do you guys think they're gonna get all of these reservists to? 450,000.
So much. Yeah.
What? Who said 450,000?
That's right.
Israeli media
I
said
thought it was
400.
100,000. Did something?
No,
That was last week. Now this
Yeah.
week they said 450,000. And I mean, like some people were joking. It's going to be all of the.
Oh my God! Are
immigrants.
they going to get the Ukrainians in to like grab Israeli males off the street and like put them in vans and take them to the front line? Honestly,
if the decision has been taken to really occupy at least like to Saida, whatever the cost is.
do you know what 450,000 Israeli soldiers in the south of Lebanon will do? I mean, it'll be like sitting ducks.
Quite literally.
That's a lot of targets. It's a lot of density of targets.
Exactly. I mean, like that's what they said. I'm quoting Israeli media here. They said, they're looking to call up as many as 450,000 reservists, which these people have already been we call it a war. In reality, a genocide, just a mass killing of civilians for 2 years and change nonstop. We've been talking about the suicide rate. We've been talking about the burnout, the PTSD, the what do you call it when they leave, right? When they essentially like ignore the call-up orders. Then you have the Haredim crisis, the fact that the ultra-Orthodox Jews refused to serve in the army despite the government essentially making it a requirement. Now you add up all of these things, and then the number becomes even more laughable.
Yeah, don't forget also, Esteban, that they managed to do what they did in Gaza and the war that they launched because they had October 7 incident.
The justification,
which they worked upon it. But now, for instance, in the Israel, they barely talk about it. You can't, like before, make all the people emotional and supportive because there's 7th of October. The same thing applies in the United States. 9/11 has passed. It's now very hard to recruit Americans to come and fight Muslims because they are Muslims. You know what I mean? So the same thing also is happening in Israel because I always watch the Israelis, what they say in social media and even in the comments sections under videos. Everybody is asking, why did we even start this war? And for them, okay, we finished Gaza. There is no threat from Gaza. Hezbollah was not doing anything. Why we started this war? And now they are being hammered by Hezbollah like they never before. They're not even in 2006.
Yeah. I think the Israelis thought that, ultimately there was a window of opportunity with Donald Trump in the White House to get a war against Iran, to get the U.S. embroiled in a war against Iran. And he tried and tried and tried and tried. And it finally happened. And it was going to be a little bit longer than the one and done of his bombers, right? His B-2 bombers, whatever, in June. But now I think this is why Netanyahu's retreated. I'm sure just his face irks Trump so much that it's better he stays quiet and lets Trump's ego carry this war forward, right?
Exactly.
But the whole idea is let the U.S., in a way, the Israelis are outsourcing the war in Iran entirely to the Americans and Trump's ego. And they're using that cover to open a front with Lebanon, right? But they were wrong on that too. So now they're getting battered from both sides. I want to point out, Karim, you've complained before about, why isn't Iran hitting Israel more? I really think, maybe you guys will laugh, but I've always felt that Iran didn't take...
They are now, just to tell... Now missiles are on the way.
That Iran didn't take Israel very seriously because knowing exact target banks, this is not a big state, right? Knowing exact target banks, snow mountains or anything like that. You have the Golan Heights and, but it would be a one-day job if necessary with the caliber of missiles Iran has. So the goal was to let this Israeli, like, what's it called? One of these yap dogs, these like, yip, 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 nonstop.
Chihuahua. Yeah.
Chihuahuas, just keep going. Okay, just keep going. Goad the Americans into war because Iran's always prepared for the big one, right? The war with the Americans. And the Americans came, like they fell into the Israeli trap, which essentially brought them into the Iranian trap, right? That had been set and really calculated and fine-tuned over decades. That's happened now. So you focus on the Americans and you degrade them, not just militarily, but in terms of ego and prestige and global standing and hegemony. You degrade them, and then you blast the hell out of Israel because it is the instigator. It is the Chihuahua that brought this on. And so I do feel like the best part will be saved for last.
For later.
Hopefully not too long away.
Karim,
Yes.
a couple of things. I sent one video in the chat that I think it would be good to put is a time lapse of the alarms that have been going off in Israel since the start of this war. While you find that, Channel 12 in Hebrew is reporting that Israel is preparing for the war with Iran to last at least another month. At least another month. So how's that going to work out with the Hormuz Board of Peace? I wonder. But, to the point, to you guys' point, the video I sent, Karim, I think kind of paints a picture of, what the reality has been on the ground, because we don't have enough information coming from enough images. We don't have enough images. We don't have enough videos coming out of Israel because of the military censorship. But the attacks have been nonstop. They have been 24/7 nonstop including from Hezbollah and of course from Israel.
As we speak. That's what I was telling Sharmin. As we speak now, there's Iranian missiles in the sky heading towards Israel, and there's drones insurgents from the north from Hezbollah.
But it didn't have to happen earlier, is what I'm saying. Like, it just didn't. I guess, Israel crossed some lines when it does in Iran, which it does. Then, of course, they have to respond. And then, of course, the Israelis have also run with the narratives that the Americans are pushing that Iran doesn't have launchers anymore. We've degraded Iran in every which way. Then why are you still launching missiles on Iran?
They have no army. They have no navy. They have nothing.
Iran has to come every so often and slap Israel. But I'm saying it is like a chihuahua to Iran. It just is. I mean, I think the Iranian design is far bigger also than just defeating the Americans or having the Americans have to go home with their tail between their legs, removing all their military bases from this region that they consider strategic is going to be the biggest win ever, even if Iran takes really, really awful hits. But more importantly, when the U.S. doesn't have military presence there, okay, and Iran more or less controls the Strait of Hormuz, and the Gulf countries have, shrunk down to their geographic size, right? Their geographic weight. I don't mean that in a disparaging way, by the way. The Americans, and by the way, the inability for Gulf countries to sell oil means and gas means one thing every single day for the Americans, and it is urgent. It means that the Americans can't use those dollars to pay back debt. It can't use those dollars. Those dollars are not going to U.S. Treasury bonds. Those dollars are not going to the U.S. stock market. Those dollars are not going into investing in, prized U.S. companies. It is massive, that loss. And it's every day now. Okay. So you have to realize that it's not just about a military war. It is about a global reset.
Exactly. Guys, we are about 1,000 people now that are watching us, but we only have about 550 likes. Let's get those likes up. Really, please support us. Karim, I have a question for you. Another one. Because there's something that's been on the news over the past few hours, in particular in Arabic media, and it has to do with the Lebanese news channel MTV.
Oh.
Have you heard about this? That they published some information that was then used by the Israelis to bomb Lebanon.
Can we put
yes.
that tweet on that we shared?
Where is it shared?
When we were discussing this earlier today, maybe it's in the editors group. I don't know. It's about the tweet on what was shared on the MTV program.
So for those of you who don't know, and I'll just go over very quickly, MTV is a Lebanese news station that, to be a bit blunt, has Zionist tendencies, or at the very least, or to say the least, I don't know, whichever way you pick. And I think Karim is probably going to do a much better job at explaining exactly what happened.
So MTV in Lebanon is called MTV because it's more TV. It's owned by a person who's completely Zionist currently and previously, and they are aligned more with the Lebanese forces, the party that has Christian extremists who killed Palestinians and Muslims and Christians in the civil war, and
bombed churches too.
And bombed churches and everything. And ISIS, but Christians, same mentality, but without bending that like this. They do like that. It's the same mentality. So this TV channel, it's not the first time. The second day of the war, I talked to Sharmeen, if you remember Sharmeen, and I told you the head of the TV said that Hezbollah is using hospitals in the south, and he named one of them as headquarters. In Bint Jbeil. So that even before everything started, the moment people heard that missiles were fired from Lebanon, and we waited 24 hours to be until Hezbollah confirmed that he went to TVs, and he just said, there's a hospital in Bint Jbeil in the south. They have missiles there, and blah, 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 or whatever he said. And of course, this TV channel, and because I'm talking about the TV channel, I'm not talking about individual people are saying, this girl did this report. MTV has nothing to do with it. No, because
Karim, I sent you the visual. Just put it up. It's in our podcast chat.
Yes. To Karim's point, of course, it's like the people making the decisions.
Of course. Mm-hmm. And I found one more clear, Sharmeen. Yalla. Okay. Share this tweet here.
People here remembering Father Pierre Al-Rahi, who was killed recently by an Israeli attack.
So what happened is that during an aired short documentary or short segment on MTV during the news, I forgot her name. A Lebanese, they call it journalist, but she was like an influencer that always curse Hezbollah and Khamenei and Iran even before everything that happened.
And she got a
So,
job
of
with
course,
MTV. Nice.
that's how you got job from MTV or from any Gulf funded media. MTV is known also. They take money from Saudi Arabia. Like I think 2 years ago, there was a screenshot from the payment that Saudi Arabia pay. For instance, so what happened is that this MTV put this map, and they said that this, for instance, this is a prison for Hezbollah, another prison. Yani, wow. Okay, and they also here, this is a prison where they like talk to people, and 2 or 3 of these buildings, I'm not sure if they are 3 now, but 100% 2 of these buildings that they pointed out were bombed by Israel a few hours following this. So people are saying either Israelis are talking with MTV or MTV is talking with the Israelis. So that's what I used to talk about here, and why there is a big fear from inside Lebanon, because these people, I know they are not the majority, but these are the people that have money. These people are the ones who own banks. These are the people that own media, and these people are the people that are backed, of course, by the West, and they can funnel money. Nobody will follow them, unlike Hezbollah. They can receive weapon. Nobody will say anything, unlike other factions. So, yeah.
I mean, there was a huge outrage over this. Okay, and I understand they got their website hacked as well. MTV.
I saw that.
A few minutes.
And
I
then,
want to show the people
what's
the
interesting is there are apparently some lawsuits that are now being put together because it was, I mean, it's just beyond treachery, this kind of thing. This kind of thing also happened in 2006, where maps were provided, maps of the South, I guess with some kind of detail were provided. Hezbollah's communications network, maps of that were provided by people who were still leading political parties in Lebanon. You know, they were provided to the Americans, who provided them to the Israelis. And this came out, I think, through WikiLeaks. And these people are not in jail for that. So I don't know. I think if Iran has it in the bag, and the way it looks it does, Lebanon is going to go through a massive, massive change overnight as well.
So what are we looking at here, Karim?
That's the woman that usually does this stuff, and she's openly with the Israelis. And I'm not like revealing anything, but yeah, I love to put her picture because she looks like this. That's it.
It's shameful.
What's wrong with her mouth?
Yeah, every time she disappears and she comes with a new look, Sharmeen. That's why she puts a lot of reports. Wallah, I'm not kidding. Yani.
I know you're not. I know exactly what you mean. But
last year she looked like this. You know,
that is a different person. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Jeez.
Oh wow. Okay.
2 years ago she looked like this. So yeah, she needs money, constant.
Oh my
money.
God! So she's Lebanon's Laura Loomer.
Now she looks like this.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Okay,
So yeah, not to spend more time on her, but I love to do this for such people. Yeah.
Especially.
So
Just imagine what the Lebanese are dealing with now. You know, people living on the streets, people have nice houses, right? Suddenly living on the streets. People won't rent out apartments to them. They're all scared. The municipality in Beirut demanding names and identifications of people who are living anywhere new, even temporarily, whether they're living as guests in someone's house or have rental leases. I don't know where that information is going to go. I don't know why the municipality needs it, but and then revealing, or not even revealing, because MTV wouldn't know, but identifying targets that they potentially want to be taken out. You know, providing intelligence to. Imagine what would happen if someone went on Bahraini TV and showed like a bombing of a building, right, from a foreign missile. Imagine what would happen if someone went on TV in Israel and showed a bombing of a building, right, from a foreign missile. In Lebanon, they're showing buildings that they'd like the enemy to bomb. I mean, Wow.
Hospitals also, Sharmeen.
I know. But I'm
great.
telling you.
But there is
I have
good
a feeling
news.
that Lebanon, you know how the Lebanese pendulum, political pendulum, swings back and forth all the time for decades now. And there was a time where, you know, the people who were so nice to Syria when Syria was in became like the loudest anti-Syrian people after Syria left, you know. So you have these, you know, these opportunists in politics, and they never bloody leave. So I'm just so interested in seeing what people like Nawaf Shalom and others will say when the tables turn.
I love that that's just
No,
his name now.
خلاص. Today I was satisfied because of a statement that was released by an Hezbollah official. It was during a televised interview. He threatened the government, and he said that after this war we will go after people politically. What's happening is unacceptable, and he said now we don't have time for this, and this is the first time Hezbollah does this, and they should do this, to be honest. So his video was spread. To be honest, I didn't when I received the video, I didn't believe that it was true, because usually Hezbollah never talk like this. But I think in the meantime, they have 100% the right to not only talk, but also to act.
Karim, this is the war. That's why. All the politeness, all the attempts to reconcile differences, all that is gone. It is the war. We are going to act the same way you do. Don't forget that. Khamenei said that. This isn't related to Lebanon, but Lebanon never had the opportunity to really answer to the killing of Hassan Nasrallah and the top cadres of the Lebanese resistance and the absolute terroristic bombing of civilians throughout Lebanon. Which is
886.
So no more can traitors go unpunished anywhere in this region.
Very true. Very true.
This is the logic. I just want to add something. He also added, and he gave, I don't know, Sharmeen, if you heard him or knew about this, because what he said is so powerful. He said that during World War II, the French government that was with the Nazis used to imprison and kill resistance members in France. But what happened afterwards? The resistance in France took over the government, and they killed everybody in the government. He said, "Don't let us act like them."
It's you know, what else can you say? What else can you add? Exactly, Karim. I think we can wrap it up for today, guys.
As always, sorry, Esteban, missiles are being launched into Israel.
As always, when we're closing the podcast, it always happens. Tomorrow, something interesting is going to happen, and with this, I will close. In Switzerland, they're going to vote on the possibility of revoking UEFA's tax benefits if they don't expel Israel. UEFA is the European Cup, right, where they play football. So that should be interesting. In any case, thank you to everyone who joined today. Thank you to our patrons, of course. A special thanks. As I said at the beginning of this broadcast, underneath the video, you will find a link that can take you directly to our Patreon page, where for as little as $5 a month, you can become a direct supporter of The Cradle. Please support independent journalism and allow us to continue to do the work that we do here. And of course, hit that like button if you haven't yet. Subscribe to our channel. And thank you to Karim. Thank you to Sharmeen as well. And we will see you guys tomorrow. Go get some rest, Karim. You need it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Same time, same place tomorrow and every day, as long as the war is going on, folks.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
The Cradle exists because the world does not need another mouthpiece. It needs a mirror and sometimes a megaphone. We report from West Asia, from inside the region, not from Washington, Tel Aviv, or London. We're fiercely independent, no government directives, no corporate backing, no editorial leash. We publish the story that legacy media buries, and we do it at great risk. Our reporting unsettles the powerful, exposes contradictions, and gives voice to the silenced. But independence is not free. If you believe West Asia deserves to shape its own narratives, now is the time to act. Click the button, contribute, keep the Cradle independent, and let us do the legwork for you.